Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And guess what? I got a message from one of my listeners that said that my voice was soothing and helps her to focus. And I was like, my voice is soothing? I've never thought of my voice as soothing, but maybe when I'm starting to calm down and talk about some of the things that are really, the driving force in my recovery, and when I get really pensive and stuff, I suppose I do calm down and sound very soothing. So I really appreciate that compliment. I've thought about it all day. And of course, my response is that it helps me so much. I mean, it makes me be able to move forward each day by knowing that there are people that are listening and that are finding help here. And while I just share about how I'm seeking recovery and joy and all of that stuff myself. So I really appreciate the message. So thank you, my dear listener. And today I want to talk about a few things. The desire to change, confronting catastrophic thinking, which I've talked about this before, but it doesn't really matter when I've talked about something before, because it's like every time is just a different angle and I have a different perception. It's like going to my AA meetings every morning. I hear the same things over and over each year. And I just have, depending on what's going on in my life, I have a different perspective on it. And it helps me. It continues to help me. And I continue to grow even when I'm hearing the same stuff. And I mean, the same stuff, it's a year's worth of stuff repeated. So it's not like I'm hearing the same thing every day. I also want to talk about a little bit about finding a higher power and how that helps us find ourselves. I heard somebody say that this morning, and I really liked that. I'll also talk about the vision for ourselves and how that changes over time in recovery. Like, not just sobriety, but in stroke recovery as well. This vision for myself has been evolving, changing. I can't tell you that I actually know what it is right now after all of this that I've been going through. But I think the key is that I'm still building it. I still have hope and a desire to build a vision for myself. And it's what I was thinking of is today I heard that there is a recovery workshop, a 3-day recovery workshop at a place nearby where I live called Hope Flower Farm. And it's like it sounds like it's working with flowers and how that relates to having a positive mindset, and it's soothing for you. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect for me. I want to do that, but I can't. It's too much. It's a 3-day workshop. So I had a friend that called me about 20 minutes after I found out that this workshop was happening. And then I was really starting to feel defeated and going like mentally, I was kind of going downhill because I just was focused on what I can't do. And that's unhealthy for me. So I told my friend, I never want to talk to somebody when I'm feeling this way. And I know that my psychiatrist would tell me that that's exactly what you need to do when you don't want to is talk to somebody. That's the turning off the wanter thing that I always say. So I talked to her about how I feel. I said, I feel sorry for myself that I can't do it. And it makes me feel very pouty. It makes me feel, when I feel sad about something that I can't do, I swear it feels like a controlled version of what I felt like when I was a child and I couldn't do something I wanted to do. And but while I was talking to her and sharing with my friend how I felt, I talked myself through this. Well, who says I can't just call them and see if I can show up to one part of the workshop? Like maybe I can listen to a presentation or pick some flowers or something like that. Like I would be able to handle that. So just talking out loud is what helped me lift my own spirits. And um, then, of course, after that, my friend said it's in Waterford. And I was like, oh. So that kind of pulled me back down again because Waterford's kind of long for me to ride in the car. I haven't ridden that far unless I'm going to a doctor's appointment. But that doesn't mean that I won't go. We'll see. I'll think through it. Maybe actually, I think my friend said she would be willing to go with me if she wants to go, if I wanted to go. So, I'm not writing it off, but that's kind of like that mindset that shifts back and forth like a freaking roller coaster in a matter of an hour, um, is why I have a difficult time really building a long-term vision because depending on my mood throughout the day, I'm all over the place. And I think over time, what's happening is that I'm starting to settle into even, you know, mindset. I'm staying a little bit more consistent over time. And I think that's where that vision for myself will continue to squeeze out of all of my work. And then I also wanted to talk about how sobriety impacts our work ethic and productivity and energy and creativity, which also ties in with this vision idea. So it's a lot of stuff. We'll see how it ties together. So the journey of recovery, I think for me was not a desire to change. I didn't have a desire to change who I was. I didn't know that I needed to change. I just knew that I was addicted to alcohol and I needed to stop drinking. Um, and but there are people who come in with this desire to change everything. I didn't know that was possible, so I couldn't have the desire. I didn't know you could change everything. I just really was trying to change what I thought was the root cause of all of my problems. Once I finally realized that that was the root cause of all my problems. And that was to stop drinking. But for some people, hitting rock bottom or experiencing moments of clarity in the chaos of addiction gives them a desire to change. So it's different for everybody. And it's that pivotal moment where you have that that desire to change. For me, it was I guess it was a desire to change a behavior of mine. Um, that's when I realized like the current path that I was on was no longer sustainable. And I needed my change, I suppose, was stopping drinking. I just couldn't see long enough to believe that the stopping drinking was actually me learning how to live sober. I just could not see past my own hand. You know, I just didn't know what I was doing at all. But this desire to change that's the spark that ignites this entire journey of ours. And it it's really what all it takes in order to seek help. And you know, whether that's going to a meeting, whether that's reaching out to a neighbor or a friend or somebody that you see might have what you want, you know, sobriety, and or calling a facility. That's what I did. I called Nova Cats and said that I needed a room. There was no way I was going to be able to stop drinking on my own. So that was really the only option for me. And I didn't know that what my future looked like, that I was going to be embracing a whole new way of living. No idea. Um, and when I got sober the first time in detox, I didn't want to be there. So I didn't have the desire to change. It was the second time that I went to detox. I think that's where that desire to change really was. So now that I think about that, that is when that spark ignited for me, was the second time, because I tried to just stop drinking and not have the desire to change. I think that's what I'm kind of wrapped up in, thinking about, well, I didn't have the desire to change. Well, I didn't the first time, but the second time I did, and that's the sobriety that I'm still in today. So this journey has not been straightforward for me. It has been filled with lots of ups and downs, and my mindset has not remained positive at all times. You know, I haven't, you know, I'll sign in here and talk all positive and hopeful and stuff. I don't want anybody to be mistaken that I feel this way all day, every day, because I just don't. You know, I'm navigating challenges, and at the end of the day, that's when I talk about what solutions I came up with today. I try to also talk about the problem before the solution. And one of those problems is catastrophic thinking. And the words that I use, and I heard somebody say this in one of the meetings today. Catastrophic thinking, like using words like always and never, that was what got me drunk again after the first bout of detox. I was looking at my whole path, my vision for myself, as there's no way that I can live my life this way. That I can never have a drink. There's no way. So I started drinking again. I was looking at my life in the worst possible light. I was thinking things like, I will never get better. Um, I will always mess things up. I will drink again. There was nothing positive in my head, and we don't get, we don't get guidance on how to stop that thinking in the beginning of sobriety. All that I heard was keep coming back, keep coming back. And I didn't know why they kept saying that. I don't know that if somebody came up to me and said, okay, now that you've stopped drinking, you're going to start thinking things like, I will never get better. I will always mess things up. I can't spend the rest of my life without a drink. And this is what you do with those thoughts when you think them. It wouldn't have mattered because I was so sick and so desperate for a drink when I quit the first time that it wouldn't have mattered what anybody said because I didn't have a desire to change. Um, I could not break out of the cycle of negativity that was in my brain, even when there was not any alcohol in my body. This catastrophic thinking blocks all other thoughts. It can be paralyzing, and it makes it difficult to be able to see anything outside of your fear. And I didn't start being able to see these patterns of thinkings and challenge them until I kept showing up to meetings. It was like a daily medication that I needed for my catastrophic thinking. I needed to, and I didn't show up every day to a meeting, and early in sobriety, it just wasn't, I don't know that I could have done it physically. I don't think I could have done it because I was so tired from going to IOP and going to some of the meetings. I had a 3-hour drive, an hour and a half each way. For work, was working 8-hour days. I don't think I could have made an in-person meeting every day, but today, now that I'm more familiar with the online meetings, I feel like that's why I go every day, because I need the daily medication, which is hearing other people in sobriety share their experience, strength, and hope, so that it turns down the catastrophic thinking in my head. And it breaks down the catastrophic thinking into, I think, more realistic problem solution breakdown. If I were to say, I will never get better, and then I go to a meeting, I may start thinking, okay, because it just like fuels me with positivity. It fuels me with the desire to change. Yeah. It fuels me with commitment. It fuels me with the desire to seek solutions. And so after my morning meeting, instead of thinking I will never get better, I'm thinking this is what I'm going to do today for my recovery. and that shift in my language from absolute terms to a more positive and realistic um, way of thinking, it fuels a long-term, hopeful, and resilient mindset. And to have that long-term, hopeful, and resilient mindset, I'm able to start molding my vision for myself. This morning we listened to half of the chapter in one of my meetings of A Vision for You in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it talks about hope and promise of our new lives in sobriety. And it paints a picture of what's possible when we commit to our recovery and trust in a higher power. And this idea of when I find my higher power, I find myself, like I'm still building whatever my concept of my higher power is, and I will my whole life. Um, but as I build that, it is helping me understand myself and having a greater connection with the world around me. And it provides me with, I feel like I'm being held. I've always felt like I was just kind of out here in the world by myself. And if I wasn't inside my home or inside my bed, or with my kids or my mom, that I felt alone. And as I build this connection with my higher power, which is everything outside of myself, including my own concept of God, I feel like I'm no longer alone when I'm not at home or with specific people. I start to feel that I am cradled by everything outside of myself. Um, and that I have guidance that I need all around me. If I just quiet down and listen, I listen outwardly and inwardly. And that gives me strength to overcome my struggles today. Um, it helps me to see that I'm not alone and that everything is okay. Like I said yesterday, as long as I don't drink, everything is okay. And I will continue to be cradled, even when things are so uncertain like they are right now. When I look at my own journey, I can see how my vision for myself has evolved over time. Um, my vision just 4 years ago was all about I wanted to be an executive. Um, I wanted to make as much money as possible. And I don't even like saying that out loud because I always prided myself on how I just want to be happy in my job. I don't want my life to revolve around making money. Well, what I figured out was that I can love my job and make a lot of money. So that stuff lined up for me. And that doesn't happen for a lot of people where they get to go to a job that they love and they are satisfied with the pay. And I was one of the lucky ones. I felt very fortunate that mine aligned with my vision for myself. So when a year ago, when I had to walk away from all of that, it was like, but everything was so good. Everything. I was so fortunate and I had everything I wanted. Um, and if I allow myself to, I will still get sad and feel a little empty inside about all of that. But when I do, my husband's words, his message to me echo in my head about that is not what I was working for. I was working for what I have here. And I've been given the opportunity to spend more time in what I was working for. Um, I mean, he didn't say that part. That's kind of how I've added to what he said. And so originally getting sober, in recovery, my goal was to stay sober. As I've progressed, I've seen that so much more was born from my sobriety. Um, Not just staying sober, but thriving in my life, thriving. And since that happened to me in sobriety, I feel I feel 100% confident. I would say 100, let's say 99%. Just because I feel a little cautiously optimistic. 99% sure that I will be thriving again in time. Um, I I tend to see these stroke survivors rehabilitation where they go from having vestibular issues, having speech and walking issues, and then they recover. At least they look like they recover fully. And they're back out running and biking and driving and all of these things. And I think, why is mine still not fixed? Um, but we're all different, I suppose. Um, but I don't need my vision and my head to be the way it was in order to thrive. I wish it was. I wish it was gonna heal and I would go back to the way that I was, but it's not happening for me. Um, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at navigating the world with what I've got, with this disability that I have. Um, and if I continue to seek help, I'll continue to get closer and closer to, I think, thriving. Um, I think the reason why I don't slow down is because it's like I'm racing towards thriving. And if I don't slow down, if I don't slow down what I'm doing physically and mentally, I'm slowing down my progress towards thriving. I'm doing the opposite of what I'm trying to do if I don't slow down. Today, because I've been having some of these language and memory issues creep back in lately, I am trying to slow down, I mentioned to you guys. And so I took a nap today and I laid down at, I think it was about 1. And the next thing I knew, it was 4:30. So, and I was just out. And I feel like I got hit by a tractor trailer when I wake up. It's just, it's not fun to wake up, but I'm glad I wake up. But it doesn't feel good to wake up. It feels like the concrete has been poured inside my head. And I've talked about that feeling before. Um, so anyway, sobriety has brought me to thriving. Sobriety is like, I am cleaner than I ever was. Like, not me physically. Well, me physically too. But like I clean the house more than I've ever cleaned the house. Okay. My the sobriety has had this amazing impact on just my energy level. And I am more productive. This is why I don't slow down. I don't want to slow down because I was either drunk and I was laying around and couldn't function, or I was sober and I was super energetic and I just wanted to go, 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 go hiking, work, do all of these things. So now in stroke recovery, I am trying to fit this way of life into the way of life I had, and they're conflicting with each other. Um, Work ethic, productivity, um, now that all of that is not consumed by my addiction and I have more energy and I'm able to now with no sharp pains in my head, at least this month, I haven't had any sharp pains, so that's cool. I'm able to dedicate more of my time and my just physical ability to engage in stuff that I love to do, my passions and also my responsibilities, and my creativity has been flourishing, and I'm just constantly brimming with new ideas, and I want to see them through. And this is what I'm trying to hold back on. Um, and it's difficult for me. I need discipline. Uh, and so I'm learning how to do that. I mean, today, after all of this, and me telling myself, okay, and my husband saying, we're going to focus on slowing down this month. I still was like, at 4 o'clock, I'm going to do yoga today. And I told my friend that I talked to this morning, at 4 o'clock, I'm going to do yoga today. And I'm going to go get my nails done today. That's what I told her. And it's just not realistic. I can't seem to get myself to um, treat myself as one that moves slower and thinks slower. I want to do the things that I've always done. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's just, that's how difficult it is. And I think it's important that I stress that, I think, as we come here every day and talk about recovery, every day it's hard. Every day I have to talk to myself about, I have to refocus. I have to say to myself, okay, today you're going to slow down. I can't just tell myself at the beginning of the week, all right, you're going to slow down because I won't listen to myself the next day. I really have, that's why I go to my meetings constantly. And I I'm kind of sad because I'm not going to be able to go to my vestibular support group meeting tomorrow because I'm going to the dentist. Ugh. But Anyway, I have to remind myself every day. So that's why I'm a broken record. And I want this discipline that I learned in sobriety to translate into my stroke recovery. But it took me 8 years of sobriety to get to where I am today. And honestly, I've only been actively on disability for a year, even though I had my stroke 3 years ago because of the decline in my health that I had the first 2 years after my stroke. But I want to be able to figure out how I can work hard but still slow down, because I think there is a happy, medium there where I can do both, and shift my mindset and my behavior in order to enhance my life instead of continuing to steal away from my ability to do things. Because the more, like I said, the more that I do, the less that I'm going to be able to do. So the desire to change that we started out today with is the catalyst that sets us on this path. And I think as that ignites, I'm still, I almost think of like this Tomb Raider where I'm still dodging catastrophic thinking while I'm walking towards a higher power, you know, and my understanding of what that is. Um, along the way, I'm building a vision for myself, and if I continue to stay sober, I will have that clarity and productivity, and I will continue to build a renewed sense of purpose that will allow me to get to this point again where I'm flourishing. So that is the story that's in my head today. Thanks for listening. I did say hi to a stranger today. He was walking two dogs and he was all the way across the street. People, when you have a dog in my neighborhood, will say hi to you. If you don't have a dog, they don't look at you. When we first moved in here, I couldn't make any friends. And then I got a dog, and now I know all these people here. I mean, I'm not really close with anybody at all. I have not necessarily made friends here in that way, but having a dog allows me to say hi to strangers a lot more. So thank you for joining me today on the Recovery Daily podcast, and I will talk to you tomorrow.